Welcome back to the show. Really excited for this new segment we're bringing in this football season. We're going to have a roundtable with former Razorbacks. And as you can see, I have Travis Swanson joining me as well as Austin Allen. And I think, guys, not only are we excited to get your opinion on this team, but the fact that both of you know Sam Pittman from his first tenure at Arkansas, I think really brings a very unique perspective. So excited to see what you guys thought of game one. First and foremost, Travis, we can start with you. What was it like to see Sam Pittman run onto that field as the head coach at Arkansas?
It was pretty cool, and I think you kinda hit the nail on the head. Austin and I, we both have a relationship with Coach Pitt. I thankfully, even though it was a short stint with him, I thought it was my favorite year I had was my last year when he was my O-line coach. I wish I woulda had all 5 years with him. So for me to see him come here and to get the head coaching job and to see him yesterday kinda run out on that field, it was a pretty cool feeling just because I know what this place means to him. And I know that he wants to, move down to Hot Springs when he's done and retire down there and everything. So he's a hog through and through. So it was pretty cool to see him kind of get to live that out yesterday.
Yeah, Austin, how cool is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of my best friends is Frank Ragnow, and I don't think he could talk Coach Pittman more up. Where he loves that guy, every guy who's ever played for him. I mean, there's nothing but good things that they say about him. And then in my experience, I had him for 3 years, I think. And I mean, every day he's the same guy. Just everyone kind of gravitates towards him, and he's just a great teacher and a great coach, and it shows.
Well, they started off with one of the biggest tests in the SEC, I guess, if you're a head coach, to be able to start the season off with Georgia. And it went well for a half, and that was really impressive. I know we saw a lot of improvement from this team from a year before. So looking at kind of what happened in the first half versus what happened in the second half, guys, Austin, we'll start with you. You saw Felipe Franks take the field for the first time in a Razorback uniform. And fun fact, he is the 9th guy to start since you left. So they've gone through a lot of guys. And what did you think about how Felipe handled the situation?
Yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job. Obviously, the 2 picks, tough, putting our defense in tough situations, but overall, new system. I mean, he's still trying to get used to all the O lines new, wide receivers new. So overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. Just can't turn the ball over like that, and so hopefully it's a learning lesson and learn from it and go into week 2.
What'd you think about the offensive line, Travis?
I thought they looked really good. Given the circumstances of just what 2020 has been, and you factor in, how people have had to manage this, and are we going to have a season? And there was no spring ball, and they want to shift guys around on the O line. It was a complete question mark coming into the season. Not only just I'm just saying just the season and the team in general. It could have gone really uh, either way yesterday, and I think people wouldn't have been surprised. I think from what I saw, not only from the O line yesterday, but just the team in general, I think there's a ton of upside. I thought this team has talent. They've always had talent. I think you have to, when you get some coaches in here from a developmental standpoint that know how to excel in that, then they're really going to get the best out of those guys. Factor in recruiting and all that as well. It's going to help. But I was very excited from what I saw. It was kind of a tale of 2 halves, as everyone saw yesterday. But that first half, I think, is a good glimpse into what this team could be. And then obviously still very early on. But they do have, and I will say, because I agree, the hardest schedule in the history of football out of all phases of the game and all levels. So I thought I really liked what I saw from them. Lots of work on still, but they're just scratching the surface right now, I think.
Yeah, you got to put an asterisk beside the fact that they went up against the Georgia defensive line, which is one of the best in the country, but the run game struggled. And you got a guy like Rakeem Boyd who we know can run the ball. So in your experience from what you saw, what does his offensive line need to do to help him open up a little bit more holes for Rakeem?
I think they just have to get more comfortable with the chemistry amongst themselves. And there's really no right formula with how you iron that out. It just comes with time. And I think not being able to get as much spring ball as they would have, I think hindered that. But the thing is not making excuses. No one really got the time of spring ball, regardless of what team you're looking at. So I think just as time goes on, the more experience that they get in there. I know that they moved a couple guys around. They put Ricky in at center. And I'm pretty sure Myron is the only one that actually stayed put throughout this year from where he was last year. So I think as time goes on, they're going to get a lot more comfortable with not only each other, but with how, Felipe makes audibles or calls and how Rakeem's going to run. And you really just have to get all 11 guys kind of on the same page, which takes time.
It was good to see Traylon Burks get his first touchdown as a Razorback yesterday. Austin, if you had a guy like Traylon throwing to, I'm pretty sure you would have enjoyed that.
I had some pretty stout wide receivers when I was there. But, Traylon's a special talent. So I really enjoyed how they try to get him the ball in so many different ways, where I think he had 11 touches or 11 targets, but he's a matchup nightmare. If you can get him around the edge, he's 6'3", 230. So anyone that tries to line up on him, he's going to have a clear advantage, and hopefully they continue feeding that guy the rock, because he's a special talent.
My last question on offense before we just talk about the defensive performance, Austin, offensively sustaining drives moving forward. They had a hard time at least keeping the ball on the field to give their defense a rest. What does this defense or offense have to do to sustain drives and give their defense a break?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, it's tough measuring stick whenever you're going defense like Georgia's, where they've been back 8 guys and they've just been consistently good ever since Kirby Smart's been there. But for them, it really starts up front, being able to get a ground game going, and then that opens up the RPO action, and being able to take shots downfield. So for them, it really is trying to establish the line of scrimmage, try to get 4 yards on carries. I think that's what you try to average on the first play, and we didn't do that. But I think once they, like Travis was saying, get more cohesive up front and being able to develop a run game, I think that'll open up things down the field and have us sustain drives.
All right, I really want to know your take on the defense, because we saw a giant improvement from what we've seen 2 years ago, and the fact that they were able to keep Georgia out of the end zone for a whole entire half was impressive. Travis, what did you like from them?
I just like the scheme that they came up with. I have a lot of faith in Barry Odom. And I think the guys, now that, you have a former head coach in the SEC that's now your coordinator, you can see that they're buying in to what they believe in and kind of what Coach Odom seems to be preaching to them. Like the same thing on offense. Got some growing pains trying to implement new scheme. Like I said, I thought a lot of the D-line flashed that I really liked, because I think, still biased to me, I pay attention to the linemen more times than not. I thought Bumper Pool had a great game. So it was, like I said before, a lot of upside to this team. Now, can you just take this and learn from it next week and build upon it, even though necessarily, the scoreboard didn't reflect the outcome you wanted? There's a lot of gems that you can take away from this.
Awesome.
For me, it was the secondary that caught my eye, where it felt like they were in the right position every time, where there was no one really running down the field wide open, where busted coverage. And the guy who really caught my eye was Jalen Catalon. We're playing the middle safety, where he just showed up every time. I mean, he had that big hit, but even then he was making tackles in the secondary, where instead of it being a 70-yard gain, it's a 10-yard gain. So for me, I mean, he's a young guy around as well on the outside. He lined up with George Pickens, and George didn't really do too much yesterday other than the touchdown. But overall, I thought they did a really good job. They're kind of put in some tough situations, field position, and then things like that. But overall, I think a lot to build on, a lot to learn from. But I really like the young guys and how much talent they're showing.
All right, last question, guys. Time to give out a game ball. Tell me who you would give a game ball to after this outing against Georgia.
I'll go first. I was going to give it to Traylon. That is my, I think out of all the people that flashed yesterday, I think him and the ability he has and how young he is right now, I really liked what he came out and did yesterday. I believe he had over 100 yards receiving. I think sky's the limit for him if he can still work on that chemistry, not only with Felipe, but offense in general.
For me, I was leaning towards Traylon. Travis took that one. But really, I think it's Jalen Catalon, where I think it was his first game starting, and for him to go out there against the number 4 team in the country and play as well as he did, I'm excited for his potential, and hopefully he continues doing the same thing throughout the year. But I mean, that big hit, and then I think he forced a fumble and things like that, and he just kept showing up. And that's who I give my game ball to.
All right. Well, we've seen something from Arkansas that gets us optimistic for the future. They've got a Mississippi State team that just beat LSU. So they go on the road. We'll see how they perform. And guys, we'll talk to you next week.